Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and welcome to the review of Sisu, Road to Revenge. This is the sequel to Sisu, which came out in 2022. One of those under the radar, enjoyable revenge action films that kind of blended in with the John Wick type movies that were coming out. It's always a trend. And when it comes to action, it's always a trend. You think back to the 80s when Die Hard came out, and then every movie tried to be like Die Hard. And then in the 90s, or I'll say late 90s into 2000, when The Matrix came out, and every movie tried to be like The Matrix. And then John Wick comes out, and every action film tried to be like John Wick. Or you can go back a little further, maybe with Taken. But this film, at least the first film, was a take on that. This film comes from Finland. It's a foreign film in a sense, but it's poignant to everybody. It's a straightforward action movie, and it has that kind of John Wick, Taken, just pure revenge action movie. And so when I saw this movie, the original, the first film, I was like, man, this is cool. This is really cool. Nothing to write home tell mom about. It didn't redefine action movies, but it is a fun action film. It's straight to the point. And so when they announced that they were doing a sequel, and here we are, voila, Road to Revenge, I was all in, of course. This film, once again, stars Jorma Tommila. I believe I'm saying his name right. Apologies if I don't. And this go around, he's joined by Stephen Lang, who is your prototypical villain in these action films. You may know him from the Avatar movies. He was the villain in Avatar. He was the villain in Don't Breathe. And so him being incorporated in this was a nice touch, kind of legitimizing the film, if you will, the sequel, to make it bigger, to have a bigger villain, a known villain. Uh, Returning as writer and director, you have Jamari Highlander. I believe that's how you say his name. If I'm saying his name wrong, I apologize as well. But he is doing God's work here. His next film, is actually the Rambo prequel. He's directing the Rambo prequel, and going by these two films that he gave us, we're in for a treat with this new Rambo film that's supposed to come out in a couple of years. With no Sylvester Stallone, of course, because it's a prequel. But this film, this picks up after this first film, of course, and we find our lead character, who is the man who refuses to die. He dismantles his old family house, loads it up on a truck, and plans to bring it to Finland and rebuild it and move his family home to where it can rest after his family was brutally murdered. And we find out who was the culprit of that brutal murder of his family, none other than Stephen Lang, who has been enlisted to hunt down the man who refuses to die because he lit the fuse. He is the reason why this legend is where it is right now, because of what he did to his family. And so it all comes full a circle here. This film was so much fun. I was just ear to ear smiling throughout this entire screening of this movie. I cannot believe how much of a good time I had with it. I mean, I knew it was going to be fun. I knew it was going to be action packed. I knew it was going to be bloody, going off of the first film, but it found the way to make it even funner, bloodier, and in more action than the first film. This is a true sequel. It feels good to watch a sequel that surpasses the original. We used to get movies like that back in the day. We used to get sequels that were better than the original. Not to say that the original was bad, but you have to step it up. You have to turn it up just a tad. If the original was at an 8, you have to turn the sequel to 11. That's just that's that's common sense. In this film, the sequel, I mean, the original was like an 8, but this movie they turned it up to like 15. It is just all gas, no brakes. Once the action starts, which starts maybe about 5, 6 minutes in, it never lets up. It doesn't give you a chance to breathe in this movie. It is pure action throughout. Yeah, is there silly moments in it? Of course, man. It's a movie. There's some silly action that takes place, some unbelievable feats that this man does. Uh, but that's the point of the movie. I believe the first movie was a little more believable, even though there was some camp in that. There was some silliness in that, in the ways he vanquished his villains in that movie. But it was more grounded. This movie goes just full on. It knows what it is, and it goes full on into it. There's no cutting corners. There's none of that. The kills in this movie is my God, man, brutal, brutal, brutal kills in this movie, but laughable. I mean, they had the kills in here, and I guess it felt good to sit in the theater with people who have the same sick mind as I do, because as I was just quietly chuckling, there were people that were full blown gut busting laughing at the the kills that were taking place and clapping and stuff. Like, it was just that exciting of action that was taking place throughout this film. And when you have a movie like this where the lead character, your protagonist, your hero, doesn't utter not one word in the movie, you need to counterbalance that. You need to have something that will keep you engaged throughout. And the way that they crafted this film to whereas is pure action all the way through. All the way through. It is perfectly done. It is perfectly done. Even though our main character doesn't speak, you feel his grief, you feel his pain, you feel his anger, you know exactly what he's thinking, you know everything about this character, even though he doesn't open his mouth. That is skill. That takes skill. And yes, this is a cheesy action movie, but there's a lot of love and care that went into this film that needs to be celebrated. You need to give these filmmakers their flowers for what they've done with this franchise, man. This is one of the best times I've had in the theater this year. And that's saying something, because I've seen some really good movies in the theaters this year. But this was literally my best experience this year. And I don't see nothing else topping that. Well, we only have a month and a half left in this year. And so this goes down as my favorite theatrical experience of 2025. Sitting down watching Sisu Road to Revenge. I didn't have that on my bingo card, but here it is. you know, uh, Stephen Lang, like I said before, he carries the movie as far as dialogue and story. And man, Stephen Lang, man, Stephen Lang, once again, slept on actor. I mean, this goes back all the way back. My first experience with him was Tombstone. That's where I really grew to love him as an actor in Tombstone. The Hard Way with James Wood and Michael J. Fox. He was the villain in that. Enjoyed him in that, and other films as well. He has a long filmography, but most recently we all know him from Avatar and Avatar: The Way of Water, and the one that's coming up in about a month now, huh? Next month. Wow. Yeah, we get the new Avatar. So yeah, Stephen Lane does a good job here. Um, that was it. Everybody else was just cannon fodder. They were just there to be murdered. But hey, man, they got murdered well. They did a good job being murdered in this movie. Like I said, very gory, very bloody, and that's what you expect when you go see Sisu. If you haven't seen the first Sisu, I implore you to watch it. Please watch it and then watch this one. Do you need to watch the first one to watch this one? No, you really don't. But it helps because you understand the character more. But will it hurt you? Will it spoil your or ruin your viewing of Road to Revenge? I don't think so. I think you can, if you haven't seen it, I think you can watch it later. Go back and watch it later. Personally, I can't wait till this is released in a few months and I can sit back and, released at home. Whereas I can sit back and watch both of these movies back to back and have a Sisu Saturday or a Sisu Sunday. It is going to be a good time then. But in the meantime, I plan to go back and watch this again. That's how much fun I had with it, man. This is how much fun I had with it. I'm giving it a high grade. And when I give this grade, that doesn't mean that when we go over our top movies of 2025, this will necessarily land in the top 10 or whatever. But for what it is, for the action movie that it is, I give Sisu Road to Revenge an A. This was great, man. This is exactly what it is. It doesn't try to be nothing more than what it is. Point blank, period. If you love revenge films, voila. If you love action movies, voila. This is it. If you're looking for story driven, emotional connections, love story, your typical movie tropes, you're not going to get that. But if you're going for action movie, if you just want to sit down and see action for an hour and a half, Sisu Road to Revenge is the film for you. I would like to know, did you watch the first Sisu? Or are you excited for Sisu Road to Revenge? Or have you checked it out? What did you think? Did you enjoy it as much as I did? I would love to know. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also search for the show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Also, don't forget about YouTube. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel and like this video if you don't mind. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this review of Sisu Road to Revenge. I want you all to know that I love you, continue to love everyone, and until we speak again, you all be blessed.